And a prehistoric mammoth's epic travels preserved in tusk. Climate change. Many nations fear extinction due to climate change after IPCC report. New carbon-based, non-toxic and reusable wrapper to increase shelf life of fruits. Let's see more about these interesting stories from the world of science. I'm Nidhi Kumar and you're watching Science Time, a show that brings to you the best that science offers, from exciting developments in science and technology to futuristic solutions. Let's move on to story number 1. A preserved tusk of woolly mammoth that lived during the Ice Age has revealed how far the animal ranged during its 28-year lifetime. Researchers have reconstructed the geographical movements of a single woolly mammoth, Mammothus primogenes, using chemical GPS tags preserved in one of its tusks. The studies revealed that in 28 years, the mammoth walked almost 50,000 miles, 80,500 kilometers, to retrace the adult mammoth's steps. Researchers did something that has never been done before. They sliced open a mammoth tusk along with its length, investigating the chemistry of the layers that built up in the tusk year after year during the animal's lifetime. Then, they compared that data to chemical signatures in locations across Alaska that were identified from the teeth of small Ice Age mammals. By matching chemical element ratios in different parts of the tusk to similar ratios from the small mammal teeth, scientists were able to create a regional map that showed where the mammoth lived from year to year. In woolly mammoths and their elephantine relatives, tusks preserve information about their habitats in an element called strontium, which the tusk absorbs from the plants the animals eat. Ratios of strontium isotopes, that is, versions of the element with different numbers of neutrons, vary between geographic locations, and incremental records of local isotope ratios in tusks can reveal where the animals were dining during different stages of their lives. And for the study, scientists used one of the tusks of an adult mammoth in the collection of the University of Alaska Museum, collected on Alaska's Arctic coastal plain above the Arctic Circle in 2010. And the findings of this research are published in the recent issue of the journal Science. And with this, let's move on to story number 2. And human activity is changing the Earth's climate in very unprecedented ways in thousands and hundreds of years. Most of the changes are now inevitable and irreversible, climate scientists have warned. According to the latest IPCC report, heat waves, heavy rainfall, and droughts will become more common and extreme. The report says there is unequivocal evidence that humans are to blame for increasing temperatures. Within the next 2 decades, temperatures are likely to rise 1.5 Celsius above the pre-industrial levels, it adds, and that could lead to sea levels rising by half a meter. But a rise of 2 meters by the end of the century cannot be ruled out. This could have a devastating impact on the low-lying coastal countries. The United Nations chief has labelled it as a code red for humanity, and many world leaders have called the report a wake-up call to the world. But some of the strongest reaction to the findings has come from countries that are said to be the worst hit, like Maldives. Under the 2015 Paris Agreement, more than 190 governments agreed that the world should limit global warming to 2 degrees Celsius or ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. But the new report says that under all scenarios, both targets will be broken this century unless huge cuts in carbon take place. Only rapid and drastic reductions in greenhouse gases in this decade can prevent such climate breakdown, with every fraction of a degree of further heating likely to compound the accelerating effects, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the world's leading authority on climate science. And now let's move on to story number 3. And in a significant development, researchers from Mohali-based Institute of Nanoscience and Technology have developed a carbon-based, non-toxic and reusable wrapper to increase the shelf life of fruits. Fruits are highly perishable and about 50% of the produce gets wasted, causing huge losses. Conventional preservation relies on coating the fruits with preservatives like resin, wax, or edible polymer, which can result in serious health problems. Well, to address this problem, a team of researchers led by Dr. P.S. Vijaykumar from the Institute of Nanoscience and Technology, Mohali, looked for an alternative that could be generated from waste and would not lead to an absorption of preservatives in the fruit. They activated graphene oxide molecules were loaded with preservatives, and this high preservative loaded graphene oxide, when cast into paper used to wrap fruit, ensures that the fruit is not contaminated with excess toxic preservatives. When the fruit overripens or gets infested by pathogens, the increase in the level of acidity triggers the release of the preservatives. Otherwise, the preservative stays with the carbon wrapper. In the fruit dipping method that is widely used now, the preservative will be lost along with the fruit, whereas the newly developed wrapper can be reused after the consumption of the fruit for the preservation of the next batch of fruits. This composite paper is made up of carbon that is loaded with preservatives that can be used as a wrapper to help extend the shelf life of fruits. This product can benefit the farmers and food industry and is also ecologically friendly. To develop this non-toxic and reusable wrapping paper, the team allowed the carbon matrix to incubate with the preservative, and after the incubation for 24 hours at room temperature, the resultant was washed several times to remove the extra preservatives. And finally, this carbon preservative composite was cast into paper. The production of this graphene fruit wrapper requires only the carbon produced from the heating of biomass, hence it will also benefit biomass consumption and aid employment generation. And with this, friends, this is the wrap of this edition of Science Time. Stay with us every Friday at 9 p.m. and keep watching India Science. Namaskar.